We're revisiting a updated version of one of my first airsoft gun loves in this episode of Airsoftology Reviews. So if you guys know my history and my background, you'll know that one of my first truly upgraded AUGs, not my first AUG, but my first truly upgraded one, was an AUG, the original green A1 model with the optic on the top, and I put this huge suppressor thing on it. So I still have a soft spot in my heart for AUGs. So when the AUG Commando came out from ASG, I immediately wanted to check this thing out to see if it was still worthy of my love or if it just kind of lost its luster over the years. So the first thing externally on this gun I want to get to is the sheer number of rails. It's like they decided they were going to put rails everywhere on this gun. It's actually pretty cool, especially for a guy who does YouTube. I'm always kind of like hard pressed to find a place to put a camera and then still want to get my lasers and lights and things like that on there. Well, let me tell you what, you're not going to have any trouble with this one. Not only do you have a top rail that runs end to end, a huge chunk of metal too. I mean, this thing's monstrous. You do have a rail on the bottom front up here, which does have a foregrip that comes with it, and we'll get to that in a second. You have 3 rails on the right hand side, one here at a 45, one here below it at a 45, and one farther back at a 45, just slightly offset. Oh wait, don't worry, there's one more, and it's over here on the left side too. So now that we got the 7 rails out of the way, we'll talk about what you get in the box with the AUG. So in the box, you do get a high cap magazine, holds around 300-ish rounds, and it's standard high cap functionality. Wheel at the bottom, plugs right in, and on this one, it's color matched with the gun. It's gonna be tan that comes with it. This is the tan version of the AUG itself, and it does come in a lot of different colors. You can get it in black, you can get it, like I said, here in this coyote tan, which is the gray coyote tan, and then some other special editions, which are actually hydro dipped in Cryptek, which run a few dollars more. On this one as well, you do get a foregrip here in the front. It's kind of a stubby one. It's made of solid metal, but what's kind of neat about the stubby foregrip is, and if I can figure out which pocket I hid the part in, right over here, you actually get an extension. So if you want to make it a full length one, you can unscrew this portion, add this extension in, screw the butt cap back on, and now you have a full length one. I do like the shorter version because the way the lower front rail hangs down, it kind of lets it go flush with the grip. But if you do want something longer, this one does, like, your pinky kind of almost hangs off if you have average size hands. So if you want something a little bit more, you can extend it, no problem. Also in the box, you get front and rear metal sights. The front sight is elevation adjusted. The back is windage and it has 2 different apertures. You can flip it down for a small one, flip it forward for a little bit larger. It has tick marks on here. Actually very nice metal front and rear sights, especially for this AUG. I was actually impressed to get those in the box. Rounding out the externals, you do get the Steyr trademarks here on the left side. On the right side, you get a unique serial number here on the actual dust cover. All right, so moving on to the fire controls and how this whole thing works. You do have, first off, the fire system. It's a little different. It's not gonna be your standard. You do have a fire selector here that'll take you from safe to fire. There is no semi and no full setting on this. That's because it's all controlled through the trigger itself. So you pull the trigger halfway down till it kind of breaks. You'll feel it kind of stop. That'll get you a semi-auto shot. And you can do that. It's simple to do. After a few minutes of using it, you're gonna be able to get the semi-auto shots off, no problem. If you pull it all the way, you get full auto. So that's kind of a neat thing. So you don't actually have to worry about flipping it to full auto if you really need to lay down that covering fire. You can just kind of pull the trigger halfway a little bit and then give it that extra squeeze to go full auto if you really need to suppress the enemy and keep their heads down. Also, this is ambidextrous on kind of a weird way. So like the normal one, you would be able to move the dust cover here around to eject the shell. So if you're a lefty, you can flip it around so the shells aren't jumping in your face, shooting this offhanded here. Well, what's neat is you can take this rubber pad off, and behind it, when you lock this back, so you actually pull the handle back, you're gonna be able to access that hop up both on the left and the right side. In fact, if you're a righty, you might even want to move this rubber pad over to the other side just to get better access to that hop up in case you need to make an adjustment on the field for some reason if it walks out. But because this is that rotary style hop up that's always been in the AUG, chances of it moving on you is gonna be pretty slim because this thing is one of those, it's really nice, it sets into place, and it's pretty rare to move out of position. Rounding out the externals, of course, you do get an orange flash hider on this. It is 14mm counterclockwise thread, so you can take this off. It's glued on according to US regulations. If you live out of the US, you're probably not gonna have the orange tip, but you can take it off, like I said, and add a suppressor, or you can put a different flash hider on here. If you do wanna do a suppressor though, because of the way this rail mates up, you're gonna wanna put a small extension. So you're gonna need like that 1-inch extension to get it up there to clear clear it to put that suppressor on, because of the way the threads are, it'll end up bumping in here and you're not going to get a good bite. That's probably my only little gripe on this. If you guys are wanting to add something to it, or add a little more extension to it with the suppressor, you will need an extra part that doesn't come in the box. Teardown on this gun's pretty interesting. You do have a front button here. You push it, you can take the actual barrel assembly right out, one touch, instant, and then there's a switch here on the side which looks like a fire selector, but it's not. You press this and you actually pull the entire upper guts off, exposing the mech box. Also, to access the mech box as well, you can take the rubber butt pad off here, which exposes where your battery goes. 2 small screws on the inside, takes a plate off, and your mech box is inside. You're able to slide that right out the back. But the best part is you don't have to pull it out, because that's where the quick change spring system is. So if the FPS is a bit high, which you're going to see here in the chrono section in a second, you can dial it down no problem without any major work on your gun and not even having to take the mech box out. Rounding out the last little bit of this, because this is a heavy little guy, it's actually kind of a beefy little gun for its size because of all the metal, the thick parts on here. They do give you a swivel sling attachment point here on the side, so you're actually going to be able to sling that without issues. However, there's none on the front, so if you want to add that in, you're going to need to pick that up after the fact. All right, taking this thing to the chrono, saw some really big numbers. You would think because it's such a short gun, you're not gonna get a lot of power out of it, CQB gun, but you'd be fooled because the barrel actually comes from here all the way to the end. So you've got a pretty much an M4 length barrel in this small little package. Well, on the chrono, we saw near 400 feet per second numbers coming out of this little guy. So it absolutely has the power to reach out on the field and really touch somebody. However, on our test on the field, the hop up on this version, this is the 2016 original release of this gun from ASG, the hop up seems to really like BBs up to 0.25 grams. Once you move to 0.28, you're going to have to turn the hop up all the way up to get effective hop on it. And if you go above 0.28 gram BBs, like to a 3.2, which we tested as well, you're not going to get effective hop up at max range. Now, we're not saying the BB is going to fall and drop at 50 feet. We were seeing a good 125, 130 feet range out of that, even with the 3.2s, but they did fall off a little short. 2.8s at full, you got great hop up, and at 2.5s, you can actually do the over hop if that's the way you like to actually play, dial that thing up. So just keep that in mind. If you guys do use heavier BBs, I would probably recommend changing the bucking or putting a little bit larger tensioner in there, which is that little tiny rubber nub that goes in there to give you that extra hop in the full mode. So guys, if you're looking for a compact gun that looks totally different than almost anything out in the field, has more real space than you'll even know what to do with, I mean, seriously, you probably could take some of these off to free up some weight. Albeit, like I said, it is a little front heavy, but once you get it shouldered, feels so good. You forget about the weight of this gun. Definitely check out the AUG Commando from ASG. And if you guys want to learn more about this gun, as always, I'll have a link in the description below so you can check it out. As always, thanks for tuning in. If you're not currently a subscriber, click on the logo on the bottom right or in the description and you'll always be in the know. Plus, if you like what you saw in this video and want to learn more, I've got a link down there as well. And if you haven't had your airsoft fixed just yet, click on the videos on the right or use the info button at the top of the screen for more. And as the saying goes, everyone has an opinion and I do want to hear yours. So give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down on this video, comment, and share.